instruction. And I thought of two things. One is that to keep good relations with everyone, you more or less have to be in the mode of goodness. And so being in the mode of goodness is definitely favorable for remaining Brahmachari. And the other is that if you're not maintaining good relations, it means that you're probably committing offenses. And one of the results of offenses is that you become affected by material desires, which in turn could lead to someone not being able to maintain Brahmachari ashram. So, yeah, and in general, to remain strong by having good sadhana, especially japa, Chaitodharpano Marjanam, all chanting the holy name, all dirty things within the heart become cleansed. And Srila Prabhupada said the first dirty thing is to identify with the body. And, you know, if you don't identify with the body, then it's easier to remain Brahmachari. Srila Prabhupada gave me some personal instructions that may or may not be so relevant to the Brahmacharis here. But one instruction he gave me was that if a woman comes, you should think, oh, this woman has come to serve Krishna, let me help her. You should not think, oh, this woman has come, let me enjoy her. So, this instruction is based on the principle of yukta vairagya. And the first point in yukta vairagya is not to be attached. Anasatasya vishayan. So, without being attached to the objects of the senses, nirbandha Krishna sambandha yukta vairagya, which is to take things in relation to Krishna and use them for Krishna's service. So, you know, depending on the situation, but as Prabhupada said, if a lady comes, we should think, oh, this lady has come to serve Krishna, let me help her. But each individual would have to assess his ability, you know, to interact with the opposite sex without becoming attracted. But yeah, that would be the basic principle. Would anyone like to ask questions or present requests for topics of discussion?
We can start with Marge, if you can clarify for us what is the utility of the energy of a brahmachari, how we as brahmacharis, because we have youth, energy, strength, how to utilize it in the best way that we serve Prabhupada's mission and at the same time maintain our Brahmachari standards and way of lifestyle.
You're saying you're young, you have strength and energy, and what you're asking how to use the energy to
Yes.
in devotional service. Well, ISKCON is a preaching movement, and so we want to use our energy to preach, to distribute books. Of course, Srila Prabhupada really wanted his books to go out. But to preach, we also have to practice. So we, again, should have good sadhana to remain strong in Krishna consciousness. And another thing that Srila Prabhupada said was Krishna consciousness is 90% association. And so yeah, we associate with, good brahmacharis and sannyasis that will encourage us in our own determination. Yeah, and there are many injunctions in the Shastra about association. Asatsang Tyaga e Vaishnavachar, Stri Sangi Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhaktar. So, the principal characteristic of a devotee is that he avoids the association of non-devotees. Asatsang Tyaga e Vaishnavachar, Stri Sangi Eka Sadhu. So one type of bad association is a man who is too attached to women. Stri Sangi Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhaktar, and the other kind is just someone who's not a devotee of Krishna. So there are quite a few injunctions associating with men who are attached to women. And there are some statements to the effect that associating with men who are attached to women is more dangerous than associating with women, because associating with a man who is attached to women and to never be alone with a woman. And the Bhagavatam even says one's own mother or sister or daughter. So, yeah, we definitely have to be careful about that. And just be strong in Krishna consciousness just by good chanting. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Devotees have any questions? Please, now's the best time to ask Maharaj.
Yes.
Just going back to your point about
Slightly louder, Maharaj.
just going back to your point about having good relations with people. If we've had, like some experiences where maybe relations haven't been so good with people that we're close with, what's the best way to still keep like a mutual connection with them, but not, like overly associate with them?
Oh, with devotees.
Yeah.
Well, keeping good relations with everyone can mean, under certain circumstances, keeping a respectful distance. Because if you expect that associating with someone closely will lead to some friction, that would be unappropriate.
Becoming a Brahmachari?
Not necessarily. I mean, it would depend on what the fall down was. But if it's something like masturbating, Srila Prabhupada said if you do that, you should fast for the day. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, just because one has a fall down or falters or stumbles, it doesn't mean one has to give up the overall effort to remain Brahmachari. There are advantages to remaining Brahmachari, and it's worth making the effort, even if one has had a temporary lapse in one's practice. I think of one exchange I had with Srila Prabhupada in Gorakhpur, 1971. I had, I joined in Boston, and Sasrupa was the temple president and also the editor of Back to Godhead. And he always wanted articles. So I wrote an article about the genuine spiritual master. Then I was in the group that was chosen to go to India to assist Prabhupada there. And when we were in Gorakhpur, the issue of the magazine with my article came. And Srila Prabhupada called for me and said, I've read your article, it's very nice, you should write, you should take up writing as your main business. Then he asked, do you ever think of getting married? And I said, not really, except when I see that the GBC members are married. Sort of thinking that they're on a different level, not higher level. And Srila Prabhupada said, you will never be GBC. And then he said the sex urge is like an itch. And if you scratch it, the itching might temporarily subside, but then it will come back worse. And he said not only the sex urge, but all the demands of the body, if you cater to them, they might subside for a while, but then they'll come back worse. So it's better to tolerate, and then they will subside. So that was a good instruction, both specifically in relation to sex and generally in relation to all the demands of the body, of the senses. So yeah, tolerate.
So this comes to, I think, the subject of tolerating desires. And for a little while ago I was wondering, how exactly do you tolerate desires? And then I heard from, I think it was a recent class here, how you have to tolerate them a bit like if you have a child. They may be nagging or pulling at you or something for something, but if you just ignore them after a while, they just forget about it. So in that way, if you just leave it, just try to tolerate it in that way, it will just subside on its own, like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That reminded me of something that Srila Prabhupada said about Maya in general. That Maya will call you, come on, enjoy me, come on, enjoy me. But if you don't heed her call, you don't respond, then eventually she'll stop calling. She'll give up. She'll say, this person's not responding, so leave it. So yeah.
I guess with most things in this life, if someone wants something from you, if you just don't respond, they'll lose interest and they realize you're not interested, like that. So Maya's just like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice way to think about it.
Yes.
Where would be the line then between tolerance and realizing that maybe we can't tolerate and that we should change our show?
That is a good question. If the calling of Maya, you want to call it that, is like too persistent and too loud, that it's difficult to ignore, tolerate and ignore, then it could be worth considering changing your ashram. I mean, there's a saying by Chanakya Pandit, if you don't know whether to eat more or eat less, eat less. If you don't know whether to sleep more or sleep less, sleep less. If you don't know whether to get married or not, get married. If you don't want to take any chances. Yes.
So if one, despite hearing all the warning signs that maybe this is not the right situation for me, and one continues to tolerate, what could be the consequences on that individual?
Oh, that he believes that remaining Brahmachari is not right for him. But
No, there may be many struggles in the path. So if he continue, is there like a risk? Is there a negative side of it?
Oh, well, he's trying to remain Brahmachari, but he struggles. I mean, in principle, that's all right to struggle. But again, if the struggle becomes so consuming that it absorbs his attention away from sadhana and service, then it could be that he would be better situated in Grihastha ashram. Because we don't want the whole focus of our attention to be how to avoid getting married. We want the focus of our attention to be how to serve and please Krishna. And so if not marrying takes so much of our mental energy and becomes our focus instead of service, then it's probably better to get married. Yes.
What are the right motivations for joining the Brahmachari ashram? That sometimes we see someone may join, but then they may join for maybe the wrong motivation. They may become a little lazy, or so I'm just wondering what is the right motivation to join, so that they join with the right enthusiasm and keep that.
And what are the wrong motivations that you've observed?
Joining because it's they may think it's an easygoing life, or they may it's easy. That's the main motivation I think. Like it's easy going. They don't really have to worry about so many things, and then later on, at first they may get into it, but later on they may become a little lazy. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, well, we don't want to be lazy. Srila Prabhupada said that the ashram is not meant for lazies and crazies. So, we want to be active in Krishna's service. And we should be eager, be enthusiastic to serve. And that enthusiasm, as Srila Prabhupada said, comes from following the regulated principles strictly. And also we associate with enthusiastic devotees, their enthusiasm can rub off on us. And then we'll also be enthusiastic to do service. Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes I find that, like I also get too boxed in with the thought that, I should be a brahmachari, or, maybe I should go out, that I forget the bigger goal of Krishna consciousness is to remember Krishna and to love Krishna. So how can we transcend this idea of, I'm a brahmachari, how can we focus more on the goal to love Krishna through our services, through different activities that we do?
Well, you can see remaining brahmachari as part of the process of remembering Krishna, serving Krishna, developing love for him. In that, if you were to enter Grihastha ashram, there would be many responsibilities and obligations that could take you from direct Krishna consciousness. And so you can see the effort to remain brahmachari as part of the process of developing love for Krishna. Not separate. Yes.
Marge, many times we speak about having association, having a good association.
Yeah.
Can you give us any tips and hints how to actually develop conscious moods of having association? It's not just like rubbing shoulders, or rather deeply absorbing in the moment of having association with the Vaishnavas. What does it mean? Does it mean to hear from them? Does it mean to just serve them? What does it mean for us specifically, please?
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing that you said. It means to hear from them and to serve them. That would be association, good association. And in principle, we would want to do that with devotees who are more advanced than we are. That will help us to become purified and elevated in Krishna consciousness.
And if I may, another question. In terms of serving the Vaishnavas, many times devotees are very humble in the sense that they don't want to receive any service. So how we can serve our authorities, our seniors, even in the ashram or in the community, offer service, and how we can develop this mood that they also ready to accept service from us, in a mood that, yes, you want to develop your Krishna consciousness.
Well, it's true. I mean, devotees are humble and they don't want to accept service. But some devotees who are, mature in Krishna consciousness will appreciate that if someone wants to serve them, it could be beneficial for that person to give them that opportunity. And the other approach would be if they're reluctant to take personal service, you could say, I really want to serve you, but if they don't want any personal service, so to speak, you could ask, what can I do that would please you? And then whatever, chant good rounds, distribute books, study Prabhupada's books, or whatever they say would please them. So that's a way of serving them. It's not like personal bodily service.
I was thinking that the Brahmachari ashram is, it's coming from Vedic culture, and I was very interested in the sense that we have ashrams in England and in modern cities like in New York and Los Angeles, and you have this experience of Srila Prabhupada in Bombay. So I was wondering the extent of how Srila Prabhupada wanted to impose Vedic culture or share Vedic culture in these big cities where it seems almost like there's friction because the modern culture doesn't always follow the Vedic culture. So I wanted to understand how Srila Prabhupada dealt with this friction that was there.
Well, when I was in Bombay, a publishing house named Orient Longman approached me that they were going to publish a book about 10. Well, the title of the book was Gurus, God, Men, and Good People. And it was, mainly about gurus, but they had, as a good person, I think they had Mother Teresa in there. And the idea was they wanted a follower of each personality to write the chapter about the personality. So I wrote Srila Prabhupada what he would suggest I say about him. And he he replied through his secretary that he has presented the Vedic culture as it is. And he gave the example of a tulsi sapling, that if you want to transplant a tulsi sapling, you have to be very careful that none of her is damaged. So he said, similarly, in transplanting Vedic culture, he had to be very careful not to tamper with any of it or disturb any of it. And he said, he's presenting Vedic culture as it is, completely, and people were accepting it as it is, completely. So that's how he envisioned his contribution. And he didn't compromise. Like when he first came to New York, a Swami from, I think the Ramakrishna mission, said, now you're in America, you're going to have to, learn to eat with knife and fork and so on. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm going to teach them to eat with their fingers. Or maybe he didn't say it that way, but he said, I'm going to teach them to eat without knife and fork. So, he was presented as it is. I don't think he considered the context, America or England or Europe, to be significant. But in a way, he did make adjustments. As I read in Chaitanya Charitamrita yesterday, when I gave class at Soho Street the day before, that Lord Chaitanya, in order to attract the people who were escaping the inundation of love of God, had devised a trick, which in his case was to take sannyas. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that, this indicates that the acharya should be willing to adopt the ways and means that will be successful according to time, place, and circumstance, and not stick to a stereotype. And then he gave the example that in America the boys and girls mingle, and so he would engage the boys and girls equally in book distribution, and some narrow-minded people accused him of allowing the boys and girls to intermingle. But Srila Prabhupada said they don't really understand the cultural context. It's the way they are used to interacting. And he's saying that the results have been wonderful. The boys and girls go out, they distribute books, they do Harinam Sankirtan, and the people who are criticizing, they have not really been able to achieve anything. And again, the idea of Phalena Parichya to drive the result. So, but still, the basic idea is there that Prabhupada represent the Vedic culture as it is. Yes.
I wanted to share something that because of my type of body, I've got a problem. Is that it's attraction to woman, or women. It was I spoke to Janani Das and Pankajani, the twins, at Mayapur. I said, what do you think I should consider about this problem I have? And certainly they said, they pause and they think about it before you wait for an answer. But then they said, what you should consider is something that actually, that this attraction hormone can lead to two things. You have to ask yourself a certain question. Do I want to satisfy this person that I'm with, or maybe get attracted to if I make contact? Or the other thing is, ask yourself this other question: do I want to satisfy them, and can I satisfy them? And when they just put it that way, about this, just asking yourself these questions, the answers became clear. Because of the nature of the age of my body and all these things. So that was an interesting, for me anyway. The mind, the attractions are still there, whatever age you're at, and that was something that it gave me the answers I needed to know to ask me these certain questions, myself these questions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna. So we would like to thank very much His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj for participating, coming, and giving us this wonderful association here in Bhaktivedanta Ashram. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj ki
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Vaishnava.